Thank you so much for joining us today for the Travel Cat Parents Tell All Room 2 with special guests Rocco the Maine Coon, we'll have George, our Wanderlust cat, Double the Ginger, and our guide, Two Little Shits. Thank you so much. And also thank you for your patience as we go through some Zoom tech difficulties. As you can probably imagine, this is a massive undertaking. So huge shout outs to the Travel Cat team for managing everything and managing multiple Zoom accounts and just everything going on. So with that said, for today's session, we're going to end at around 1:50 to make sure everyone has time and room to move around to their next panel. And what we're going to go through for the next, 15 minutes, we are going to, just do a whole chat between the five of us plus our guide, Two Little Shits, with some questions and just, do a little bit of a chat around everything to do with adventuring with your cat, having a cat backpack, using your harnesses, also having tracking devices, all of that fun stuff. So that said, we are going to go through a check-in. So that means I'll ask the panelists to just intro their names, their cats or multiple cats' names, where you're living and adventuring, and how long you've been adventuring for. And so that said, I'll just quickly get started. My name is Erica, and I am your moderator for today. I am the human for Kimchi the Adventure Cat. I'm normally the one who's behind the camera. My partner is Summer here. He's also ginger, just like Kimchi. And we've been adventuring for the last 3 years since the pandemic started with Kimchi. So what I'm going to do is ask our fellow panelists to introduce themselves as well. So I'll start with at Rocco the Maine Coon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lamont. I'm Johnny. And we live in Brooklyn, New York with our Maine Coon, Rocco, who is just off camera right now. He's chilling. He might make an appearance in a little bit. But Rocco is 1.5, and we basically have been adventuring with him since he was a kitten. So he tries to go everywhere we go whenever we can, either around in the city, to bars, restaurants, or when we travel and find our way other places.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to ask Wilha George.
I'm Bev, and this is Willa George. She's a little over 1 year old, so we've been adventuring with her since she was a kitten. We live in Maine, and we've had some great adventures doing all different kinds of things, from hiking to kayaking to biking.
Ooh, very adventurous cat.
My name's Melissa. I'm from London, Ontario. I'm not really sure exactly what else I'm supposed to say.
That's good. And what about your cat's name?
This is Milo. Oh.
Hi, Milo.
And this, come here. They're just kind of chilling out here. And this is Ollie. And we are Double the Ginger.
So thank you. And Andrew in Brooklyn.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brooklyn, and this is Andrew, and we have 2 cats. We live in Vancouver, BC, and their names are Alexis and David from Schitt's Creek, hence the name Two Little Shits. They're both sleeping right now, so you might be able to see one right here, which is Alexis, and the other one's sleeping on the wall behind Andrew's head. So,
oh,
be here.
Love it. Love the name also, both names. But so we'll get started. So we are in a bit of a time crunch, so I'm just going to choose some of these questions, and then if anyone wants to come in and jump in with an answer, feel free. We'll try and keep answers to 1 minute, just so we allow everyone to speak. So first off, just for all of you, I guess most of you have cats. If anyone has a dog, are there any differences in gear between dogs and cats? And why is this important to consider when you're adventuring?
So this is Bev. I used to have a dog, but now we just have one cat. And I think the two main differences that I can see are the way that the gear is designed for a dog. So for example, a harness is made for a dog is made much more, it's like higher up on the neck than that of a cat. And also cats are shaped differently. So the length of the harness is different than a cat harness. And I think it's essential to try to use cat specific gear when you're adventuring, because you want to make sure your cat is safe and comfortable. And so we all know that cats are notoriously good at escaping. So they're more likely to escape out of a harness that doesn't fit them well, as opposed to one that does.
Awesome. Does anyone else want to kind of jump in with an answer? Melissa, I see you're unmuted.
What was the question again?
Yeah, the question was if you've had a dog before, if you know people of dogs, if there was any differences or why it's important to consider having a cat-only products for your cat for adventuring.
Oh yeah, definitely, because I have had a dog before, many years ago. And I just know that, like, for instance, when we first started learning to train, I had just picked up a random harness from the dollar store, not really knowing the difference between it being a cat harness or a dog harness. And the fit was completely different. It's more like broad shouldered and things like that because cats are so slender. It is, in my opinion, extremely important to have the proper gear for training, because when cats get scared versus dogs get scared, cats like just freak and dogs don't, I guess, as much, like not like cats do, and cats can just get out of harnesses and things like that so much more simple, I guess. So it is, in my opinion, very important to have cat versus dog material. Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
And I just want to add on to something that Melissa said about cats having instant reactions that make them act quickly. The other thing is that a dog harness, they're more likely to get choked because it's up higher. And so it's for me, it's about making sure that Willa George can't escape easily, and that she's not going to choke if she has a quick reaction and tries to get away.
Yeah. Great. Does anyone else have anything to add, or I can move on to the next question? Maybe we can get maybe we can get Rocco to answer the next question for us. What are some of your cat parent tips, especially since you've just been adventuring with your cat now for a little while, that you have for adventuring with your cat?
Yeah, so I mean, for Rocco, it was a fun experience, sort of like figuring out how he was going to get like used to the harness and used to like the best sort of places for him to go. When we live in New York City, and one of the concerns was just sort of like taking him out into the world can be a little bit overwhelming. And so one thing that we sort of mentioned to people, especially if you're in a more urban environment, is a good sort of quiet, calm place. It sounds a little bit dark, but a cemetery. There's a gorgeous cemetery near our neighborhood. And at first we tried to take him out to a park, and he actually got pretty comfortable with the harness just from like putting it on in the apartment and having him just like sort of used to wearing it. And I think kittens are like easier to do that with maybe. But the first time we tried to take him to a park, even a calm one, he sort of did that thing where he, like, even in his backpack, didn't want to get out of his backpack. And it was the first time that we went to the cemetery that suddenly started to just sort of explore a little bit on his own. And the other thing too, I'll add, I guess, is that if you've ever had a dog, like getting a cat used to being in a harness on a leash around is very different, for at least from our experience. Like I've had dogs and I've sort of had this idea in my mind of like, oh, he'll eventually get like at least trained, just like take him for walks simply. And I know there are cats that you'll see on Instagram and whatnot that do that. Rocco is not one of those cats, but he very much appreciates, especially the retractable harness, and we'll just sort of put that on him. And if we are like outside at a restaurant with a terrace or in a park or something, and then that sort of gives him the flexibility to explore his surroundings. And but yeah, just really sort of finding him where he's at. They're very, very different from training a dog, that's for sure.
Thank you for that. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Andrew in Brooklyn, do you have any additional thoughts on that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we definitely like to keep things slow. We have one cat that's a little bit more hesitant to do things, and then David is more of our adventure cat. So we don't force Alexis to go out if she doesn't want to. We make sure that she has like her safe place in the backpack, which is great for her. And then we just kind of read their cues of, does she need to go in? And then we can one of us can take David out longer. And so definitely it's about learning about your cat's abilities and what they're comfortable with, so that you're not startling them or putting them in any sort of situation. So I like the idea of taking them to a graveyard, because I think Alexis here would love that.
Sure. Bev or Melissa, did you have anything else to add? Just looking at the time as well.
Like for me, we haven't been able to adventure even that far yet. Like we're still in the very early stages of it, because like Ollie has, he's pretty anxious. Like he's pretty scared outside. So I have only been able to make it to the trail behind the house. He gets a little bit of dog, a little bit of people activity back there. He's getting better. So like I'm excited to be able to actually take him for, I guess, what I quote unquote an adventure. Milo hasn't even gone outside yet. We're getting there.
So Willa George has been to Acadia National Park. She's been down to Massachusetts. We live on a 3-mile dirt road. So every single day she goes for a walk, even if it's snowing or raining or whatever, as long as the temperatures are not extreme. We go for a walk every single day, and now she's very used to it. So it has allowed us to expand her horizons as well as ours. But Melissa's also right about, you have to watch the cues of you. Pay attention to your cat. If you're like, sometimes Willa's in a mood and she's really not interested, we back off, because we never want to force her to do anything that she isn't feeling comfortable doing. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, okay, so we have a couple of minutes left. And Claudia had a really good question here. While walking your cats, if you folks have multiple cats, how do you handle an encounter with a dog? That is a very good question. I don't know, Rocco, if you wanted to jump in with any tips.
Yeah, so this was something it's obviously comes up a lot when we take him in the neighborhood. We always take him with his carrier, which you might have seen a second ago. He just like jumped in it spontaneously. Or we also have a stroller. And one of the things that people write about a lot is like having like a home base, like a safe place for your cat. And so we really we actually for a while we leave the carrier out in the apartment with this like some catnip in it, and he would like go in and just hang out in it. So whenever we're like out in public, we always make sure one of those two things are available for him. So if he freaks out, he can just jump in it and then kind of like eventually maybe peek his head out, or they have like great options for like opening the window on the top or removing the front so that they can kind of explore, but from their own safety.
Yeah, for sure. Having the backpack, super essential for us too. I don't know if anyone else wanted to chime in on that, because for us, we encounter dogs all the time on our walks.
yep. So again, paying attention to our cat's cues. Willa, she can hear or smell a dog a lot sooner than I can hear or see a dog. And so I pay attention to her cues. And then like Rocco's parents said, you always have to have a safe place. So my spouse and I are always paying attention to our surroundings, because we'd actually rather have her be in a safe place, like in her pack or in her stroller, before there's a bad interaction with the dog. And then what we'll do from there is just kind of let the dog come up to us, but we're in control, not the dog.
For sure.
Yeah, I haven't gone with obviously 2 yet, but I am gonna prepare to. So I'll just like I guess when Tumbles was alive, my other cat, he was my more travel cat, I guess you could say. And I never was able to take both of them at the same time. But I mean, I guess I can just speak for Ollie, knowing that he has the backpack is, I think, very, very, very essential, especially with the anxiety that he has, because I feel like the simple fact that he has the backpack, I think that's the only way that he's okay with going on these adventures to start.
And Andrew in Brooklyn, do you have any closing thoughts on that?
Yeah, we run into a lot of cats and dogs on our trips. And so our cats do this cool thing where they actually just squat down, and we know that that means that they're just kind of checking out the environment, shorten the leash, and then depending on Alexis's cues, she'll look up and that means she wants to go in the backpack, so she'll jump up. And so I think it's definitely recognizing those cues for your animals and making sure that you're paying attention, and they do kind of sense things before we can sense them, and it's helpful that we usually go out together. And so we got 4 eyes and 2 cats keeping an eye out on everything. So yeah, pay attention to those cues.